This is Michael Scott Hollash, and I have my good friend Frankie Fiordilino back on the channel. For those of you who subscribe to the Reform Report and follow what we do here, you know who Frankie is. He's been on the channel several times. I've interviewed him. We've gone over various topics on the channel. He's basically become a reoccurring contributor on the channel. But for those of you who are new to the channel, Frankie was a mob associate in the Bonanno crime family. He has an extensive family history that goes back in the life, going back to Sicily. He has a lot of knowledge on the topic of organized crime, so always love having him on the channel. So, Frankie, I wanted to touch on today. You see a lot of former guys that were in the life, some associates, some were made guys, and they are in the media or they're all over YouTube with channels or they're guests on various channels. And it's interesting to me because some of these guys still carry themselves or talk like they're still in the mob, almost like it's a card carrying membership to a country club. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, being that you're out of the life, and get your thoughts on that.
Well, I'm just going to begin by saying, look, when I was associated with the Bonanno family back in the day, I was a lone man in a totem pole. I never said I was anybody. But matter of fact, at one point, I wasn't the type they were looking for. They were looking for earners. They were looking for money guys. And there was a lot of times I brought a lot of trouble to a lot of people I were around. So, that's I'm just going to clear that. But back to what you're saying about guys saying, once you're made, you're always made, and then they cooperated and crap like that. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. I mean, it's nonsense. It's ridiculous. If that's so, why don't you go back to Queens or Brooklyn, wherever the hell you're from, as a made guy who cooperated? Go to your friends' clubs and say, "Hey, I'm here."
Right.
I mean, see how that fucking works out for you.
Right. Absolutely.
It's just ridiculous. It's okay. People want to pretend to be something they were at one time. But I've said it too, man. Once you fucking talk at any level, okay, you rag it. You're a cooperator. That's it. You're done. And that's that. But I'm not looking for trouble. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it seems like when you just keep. It's like insulting, man. You can't be going around saying fucking. Yeah, I told, but I'm still a fucking make. And everybody has excuses for telling. You know that.
100%. And there are obviously some, circumstances that might lead an individual down that path. And, but everybody at the end of the day comes up with some of excuse. And it's kind of interesting because you and I have talked about this a lot. And it seems like the one excuse that always gets never talked about is the one excuse that it always comes back to, which is to not.
Yeah, let's call it for what it is. Time. People want to do time. I don't give a fuck. Everybody has an excuse. My friends were fucking my girlfriend. I wasn't getting enough fucking money. My guy wanted me to take the fall for him. Yeah, all right. Let's say your guy wanted you to take the fucking fall for him, but you still told on 40 other fucking people. It's a fucking time. Be a man about it and just say that. But don't be insulting about it. Nobody gives a fuck. Your stories are fucking trash about your older life and stuff like that, or including myself, how tough I was or whatever. When fucking you told that shit, it gets old.
Well, and another thing too, you get individuals that will say, so and so was a rat. I never cooperated, but yet then they're giving interviews.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You're talking about those strap hangers over there that never squashed a grape in their life, and they want to give commentary and they want to say who's a better rat or who's a more honest rat. I don't know, and they go at each other on the internet, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How about those guys that have those websites, those mob websites? They're even more fucking annoying. You hear some people, well, shit ain't like it used to be back in the day. The gangster's not who he was. You're damn straight they weren't, because when you write about any gangster, when I was growing up, when I was a kid, either it'd be bad or good, you'd be fucking, your head would be in some toilet bowl until you don't do it again. And I know stories of that's happened.
Right.
You're like this guy, that New York Mafia guy, whatever, .com. fucking he wants to write Rat Nest and this guy, and I was in the life, but I wasn't. He doesn't reveal who he really is, and he contributes that to. Well, I don't want to put anybody out, but yet you write bios about people.
Mm-hmm.
He's full of shit.
And you brought up a good story when we were talking on the phone last week about Jimmy Breslin.
There was a coffee shop back in my old neighborhood called Licata's Cafe. It was on Forest Avenue. Actually, the one guy who owned it and his brother were killed in that place years ago.
Wow.
I think 1982. But Jimmy Breslin used to go there a lot, and there was this man, this guy who we knew, family guy, a family friend, one of my uncles. He was real close with my Uncle John. He was really close with Rusty Ristelli, and this Jimmy Breslin wrote an article about Rusty one day, and it wasn't a bad one, but at the same time, it's just one that shouldn't be written about people that don't want to be written about.
Right.
Well, what came next was he came in there, he seen him, he was getting his cappuccino at the front of the place, the front of the house they would call, and he took him, brought him to the bathroom, and stuck his head in the toilet bowl. And told him not to fucking write anything anymore, and he didn't.
Right.
Jimmy Breslin, Jimmy Breslin.
Jimmy Breslin.
He came with fame with that whole Son of Sam era, 77. He wrote, I think, for the Post and Newsday. I'm not sure, but I know he wrote for the Newsday at one time.
Yeah, that Son of Sam ordeal really that helped make his career.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because
he was a true crime reporter. That's what he was.
100%. You're right. But see, back then, that you had to do the legwork. There were beat reporters that wrote for the various metropolitan papers, and they would have to write and physically go out, and do the research and the reporting. Now they're all typing from their bedroom or from an office somewhere, so they can type.
Right.
They can type tough.
Yeah, like my mother gave head to some guy in a fucking bar, and he was a gangster. Therefore, it makes me, a little affiliated.
Yeah.
No, you hear that shit all the time.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Those are a couple topics I just really wanted to touch on because, you come from that side. You came from the street, and obviously you went through the whole ordeal where a lot of the upper echelon of your family were all starting to roll, and eventually you ended up cooperating. So that whole situation, that whole side of things, and it's just interesting to see some of these guys that are out in the media and on YouTube who were
I'm not gonna go around and say fucking I could have kept my mouth shut and been a gangster fucking the time in my penitentiary and rolled around with everybody else. I mean, it's not like I hated jail. I kind of had fun in jail. I'll be honest with you. I had my routine. I got used to it, and it was what it was. It wasn't like it was. At the time, it was like, fuck. Hold on, let me do the math. Okay, guys were flipping, whatever. And they gave me a global plea at one time for 27 years, as long as my other two co-defendants would take 30 and 28. One was Robert Lino, the other one was Danny Mangelli.
Mm-hmm.
And they lowered them, and they bumped me up so they could put pressure on me to take that 27 years. Plus, I would have got fucking sent to the other side. I was like, nah. After a while, I said, it ain't worth it.
At that point, how long were you in? How long were you locked up for?
About 2 years, 2.5.
But see, even with that, you even get some guys like Cantarella Jr. that as soon as they get put in, they're already looking.
No business to be in there. He lived such a privileged fucking life. That's his father's fault for putting him in that life. They blamed Sal Vitale for apparently approaching the dad and asking him about his son because he liked his son a lot. But I mean, if you know your kid ain't into that kind of lifestyle, don't get him involved.
Right.
Jerry Capizzi, I think he started writing in the 90s, and I was like, wow, this fucking guy's crazy. He's writing about these people that take his head off in a minute, but nobody did jack shit to him. That's thank God. But at the same time, I was like, fuck. And that started that new era of people wanting to be in the paper. It seemed there was Jackie DeRoss. I was in jail with him. He used to get that shit sent to him every Thursday. Every Thursday, he used to get Jerry Capizzi. And there was another guy that I was around a lot in the same jail. Used to cringe, like, look at this fucking guy.
Absolutely.
Like it was the National Enquirer, and we were fucking movie stars. It was crazy. It was sick.
Yeah, it's a very peculiar thing how things are analyzed, how guys analyze their situation, and it's almost like they're still living in their past and they're not accepting the situation that they've chosen to be in because they made that choice to be where they currently are. You know, all of you guys
Right.
have. And some of you have realized that you've moved on to a different life, you know, and some of these guys are still living in the past. They still think they have the status that they had on the street. And I just thought I would bring that up with you because I thought that was
Well,
kind of ironic.
more power to them. See, yeah, like I said, see how that works for you. You know,
Yeah, it's easy to convince a bunch of people that follow you or fans.
all the stories you want, that ain't gonna make people back off. You know, you can't insult,
Yeah,
and an
100%.
insult to injury. That's what exactly that is. Or calling somebody that you have no proof or nothing, a rat. When you don't even know, you don't have no paperwork or not, just because you want to get back to them in a scumbag way.
Yeah.
And I've heard that done from other people too. It's bullshit.